up their semester. So we really appreciate you taking time to be with us today. We did want to talk a little bit today about some of the changes in legislation. And so we have our fearless leader, Ms. Mary Hip, with us to kind of talk about some of those things. So without further ado, I will go ahead and turn that over to Mary and we can get started. Thanks so much. Mary, we appreciate you being here.
Sure, glad to. Good to see all of you. I hope you are doing well. It is May, which other than December is probably the craziest time of year for certainly folks that work in school settings, higher ed and K-12. So I hope you enjoy a long weekend and have a chance for some rest and relaxation this summer. We are very busy. It is not just the busiest season of the year in terms of processing, but this particular legislative session was the most, I think, impactful in terms of legislation that relates to our work around teacher certification and other matters. So I want to take a few minutes and I'm going to walk through primarily the changes to State Board Reg 4364. But I also at the end will mention three pieces of or three statutes that were adopted that will also impact our work and that you need to be aware of as well. So Regulation 4364, certification requirements at the advanced level, is our regulation that concerns our leadership fields and our instructional service fields. So principal, district superintendent, CTE center director, and then those instructional service fields of school counselor, school psychologist, speech language pathologist, and school librarian. There were a number of changes in this regulation that were really addressing updating language and edits for consistency across the regulation, but there are a couple that are more substantial and certainly impact your work in addition to that of our educators and our work here in the office. All of these changes really focusing on helping districts get in place the professionals they need in leadership and these service roles. So Jessica, if you'll advance the slide, or Jackie, whoever is doing that.
Sorry, it's being sticky for me. There you go.
So principal certification was the primary change in the first section of that regulation. So I think, as you know, as of today, we issue certificates in the fields of elementary principal or secondary principal. That goes back to the early 2000s when that change was made. But these grade spans have really contributed to some staffing challenges for our districts, and the requirements to add the complementary field have been cumbersome for educators. So principal preparation or standards nationally are PK-12. Other states issue these credentials to school principals across that full grade span. So it was time for us to make that change here in South Carolina to better align with how principals are prepared, how they're licensed in other states. So what this will mean is that we will gradually transition to adding principal certification, just PK-12. We actually will start doing that now for educators who have completed a principal preparation program that is PK-12. Those are primarily our out-of-state programs. If you are already include 2 internships in both or field experiences in both elementary and secondary, I think you will be able to make that change pretty readily as well. What's in the regulation is that no later than September 1, 2026, so just over a year from now, our principal programs in South Carolina need to align their internships with this PK-12 or that PK-12 grade span. For most of you, just in talking to a number of deans, when we drafted the text of the legislation, this was not going to be a heavy lift. But again, it's in the best interest, we think, of our districts and our schools and getting the leaders that they need in place in their classrooms. There's also a provision in the legislation so that an educator, let's say that's currently certified in elementary principal, will be able to add secondary principal either through an internship in one of your institutions or by a year of experience as an assistant principal or principal in that complementary grade span. To do that, we would have to issue a certification permit, but we think that will be a pretty seamless way to assist a number of educators. So as we work on implementing this change, you will hear from Jackie and Jessica regarding an assurance form, letting us know how you've updated your program, an updated program of study. They will provide you with the details, but again, this is a real benefit to our districts. They are eager to move in this direction. As you're aware, previously, to add elementary principal, you had to have experience in an elementary setting or work experience in an elementary setting. The same was true for secondary. That requirement has been eliminated. You have to have 3 years of educator experience, and you have to have a professional certificate in order to add this new field. So, questions about principal certification?
I have a question. How
Yes,
about
ma'am.
if we are preparing for next year and want to realign our program over the summer? What should that process look like?
As soon as you are able to do that, and Jackie and Jessica can walk you through the particulars as we flesh this out. The amendments to this regulation, we actually thought were going to go into effect January 2026. But because the legislature changed the timeout provision for review of regulations, this regulation change goes into effect tomorrow. So you guys have until 2026 to realign your programs, but if you do it before then, absolutely, we'll work with you on making that shift and how we certify your candidates.
Okay,
Mary,
Yes, ma'am.
will middle level still count for either the elementary or secondary for a placement?
I don't. I think I would be yes, but I think I would be cautious in
Okay.
doing that. Okay, for
Yeah.
the simple reason that when we had the split between elementary and secondary, middle level seemed that fertile ground to help folks the most. I think if the intent here is to give folks field experiences across the grade span, full grade span, that's really what we ought to focus on. So if that helps.
That does. We
Okay.
have 2 students in middle level placements in the fall that we're trying to sort out. So thank you.
Yeah, and again, I think for now, certainly, I think we can make that work because middle level is, in state statute, it's not even defined. So I think we've got some latitude there. So, okay, I see another hand raised. And I think you're muted, Nancy.
Okay, can you hear me?
I can.
Okay, just to clarify, for the internship, did you say that it needs to include both elementary and secondary, or it can
So-
just be at one?
We needs to encompass the grade span. So you could make that change within one internship. If some of you have 2 internships in your programs, so however you best want to realign those. But we do, again, want to make sure that these candidates have experience in both of those spans as part of your program, or both of those ranges. So, all right, couple more questions.
Okay.
Yeah. Kay, I think you're muted, dear.
Yep. Hi, Mary.
Hey, Kay.
Thank you. So there's no provision to grandfather people in.
What do you mean by grandfather?
Well, the people who are already certified, I guess they would fall under the come back and do another internship and the other.
Or the experience. So what we tried to do there was to give an option for, we have a lot of folks that are certified in either elementary or secondary principal who are not working as administrators. And so for them, that internship course is probably going to be their avenue, but we have a fair number of folks that are already in the field working as an administrator, and for them, experience in that complementary grade span may be the best avenue for them. So we try to accommodate both of those.
So when you say experience, it could be an assistant principal
An
or
assistant principal or principal.
teacher.
Mhm.
No, but not teacher. Not
Correct.
teaching. Okay.
No, it is principal experience.
And the other thing I see as sort of a hiccup is that if you have a teacher who is a high school teacher,
Mhm.
they need to do, and we have a two-part internship, 2-semester internship. So it seems like logically they could do 1 semester elementary, 1 semester high school. But their placement in teaching is high school. So it's going to be challenging, I guess, for us to figure out how they can get that experience in a close by, maybe
And
elementary
I would
school.
certainly hope that their district would be supportive of that possibility for them, and offer some flexibility there, because again, if we're trying to build a strong administrator pool in those districts, it really behooves the district to help make that happen.
Absolutely. Yes. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Are there further, more specific guidelines about what the internship should look like?
Jackie and Jessica, do you want to tackle that?
I mean, I think it's defined by NELP, what we're really looking for right now. So, however works best for your candidates, I think would be fine. I know the districts are really looking to, a lot of the districts have mentioned that they're really excited about this opportunity to pull the candidates in for internships in both sides. But if you're talking about, whether you need the 2 separate placement or the 2 separate courses, as opposed to kind of combining them in one course, either is fine.
Okay,
Or
thank
either
you.
will meet the requirement.
I don't get applause very often, but when I presented this information to district personnel administrators in December, and Jessica's my witness, I'm not making this up, they actually applauded the change, because again, they need talented leaders and they can work with them on learning, elementary or secondary or middle, but they really want that talented leader with that capability. So I think this is a really beneficial change across the board. So, Kay, did you have another question? Okay, just wanted to make sure.
Hey, Mary, we have a question in the chat, if I can
Yes.
voice it for you.
I would
So
love
we have
that. Thank you.
We have a question, and here it is. If a principal is currently working in a high school but wanted to move to an elementary school, can you kind of walk through the kind of option that they would have
Yeah.
to get the elementary school certification,
Yeah.
please?
So you have a secondary principal. We actually had one a couple of years ago, and we see this pretty typically. So you have someone certified as a secondary principal. The district needs to move that individual to an elementary school setting. So what we do now is we issue a certification permit, and that's what we will do in this instance. What they've had to do in the past is a internship with an institution. This provision will allow them, while they're working on that certification permit, to serve as an administrator in the elementary school. And once they successfully complete that year of experience in that role, they can add the area, complementary area in full. Does that answer your question? Okay. Lauren,
Thanks.
I think you got your hand raised.
Yes, ma'am. So with that scenario that you laid out, what would be the advantage of doing an internship course through an institution if you can get a certification permit?
I think it's really for, depending on how that person is employed. So if an individual is employed as a teacher and wants to add the complementary leadership field, I think their only option is going to be that internship course. However, if they are employed as an assistant principal or a principal, then the experience in that role would be to their advantage. So again, was trying to figure out a way to help candidates as best we could.
Okay, thank you so much.
You're welcome. You're welcome. All right. Jackie, you want to move ahead and we'll tackle some of these other? There were a couple of edits to the transformational leader endorsement. So we made some changes here. Again, just cleaning up some language. There are no changes to the district superintendent section other than we made some edits for clarity and consistency. CTE Center Director. So the current field title for this role is the cumbersome vocational / technology / career center director. So we have edited that title to now be CTE Center Director. We've made some clarification on the courses that an individual needs to take as part of that preparation. And again, we updated some of the certification field titles in the CTE space since this reg was last updated in 2014. So that's the last section there. All right, school counselor. So your school counselor programs are already aligned with KCREP. KCREP accreditation and standards go across that full grade span, PK-12. So again, we're making the shift so that we are certifying school counselors similarly to how other states do, and really to your programs themselves. So again, Jessica and Jackie will provide you some additional information if you have to make any adjustments to your field experience hours or your clinical hours. But we do stress the importance of your candidates having experiences across that full grade span so that they can be assigned elementary or secondary or middle. The other part of this regulation that we'll work on with you in the fall is we included language really to try to incentivize our institutions here to develop pathways that would allow someone who has a degree in another field of counseling, so let's say clinical mental health counseling, to complete a series of courses and experiences to become certified as a school counselor. We have one institution now that has such a pathway in place, but there's this increasing need in our schools for counselors. And we've seen really since COVID, when there was kind of an influx of funds, not just at the state level, but the federal level, bringing in some other mental health counselors into school settings. Some of those folks want to become school counselors now. So we're trying to find pathways that would help those individuals achieve that goal and help our schools as well. Most of the time now, when we get recommendations from you, we're already issuing both elementary and secondary counselor. So there's really minimal change here. And we did get rid of the language in the reg that said guidance counselor. Y'all will be happy to hear that. We can go ahead one. School psychologist, the change here is we have made some updates just in the language to indicate clearly the types of programs that we accept for the preparation of school psychologists. All of them are NASP approved programs. So we just wanted to make sure that the language and the regulation clearly conveyed that. We are no longer going to issue school psychologist 1, 2, or 3. We will simply issue school psychologist as the certification field. There are no longer any master's level programs for the preparation of school psychs. So that's what a school psych 1 designation was. So this really standardizes how we are issuing the credential with actually how they are prepared and licensed in other states. And then SLPs, really, these are primarily language changes. We've already made changes to how we process the certification of SLPs based on the change in the LLR, speech language pathology statute in 2020. So as you know, in order to certify anyone today as an SLP, we require the program that is ASHA approved and the LLR license. So this, again, the language is updated to reflect how we actually issue these credentials. There also is some language in there, the speech language pathologist compact. legislation did pass last year, so we do have some provisions in there so that we can issue a certificate here to someone that comes to South Carolina with that compact license and gets an authorization from LLR. So again, primary changes here are just aligning the language in the regulation to what we are doing now, and what we've been doing since 2020 when that other law went into effect. And finally, school librarian, we simply updated the language here. Although we had updated the field title in our state board guidelines several years ago, it was time to update from library media specialist to school librarian here in the regulation as well. All the requirements remain the same. So those are the changes from the regulation. Again, we'll have some additional guidance out to districts as we implement all of these things. The three different pieces of legislation. So, as I said, I don't remember a legislative session that brought about this many changes to the work that we do, and all are really intended to, I think, support districts and schools. The one you may have heard the most about is the Educator Assistance Act. So the original version of the Educator Assistance Act, which was introduced in 2024, would have made professional certificates permanent. And we had some heartburn around that for a number of reasons, because we have a lot of folks that get a certificate and don't work on that certificate ever. So we were able to work with legislative staff, and I'm actually pleased with the amendments and where the act wound up this year. I'll put the links to these in the chat in just a minute. The Educator Assistance Act is an omnibus bill. So to really understand all of the changes, what you're going to need to do is look at the text of the Educator Assistance Act side by side with the original sections of code, because the bill does not include all of the other pieces of code. It just includes what's being amended or added to the code. Couple of provisions in this act. Leave bank. So there's now a provision in the act that requires districts to establish a leave bank, and it really kind of specifies that districts have to compensate educators for unused leave if they go somewhere else. There are also some notification requirements around teacher assignment. The issuance of contracts now needs to include an estimate of the educator's compensation level for the following year. As you know now, that's not the case. And part of the challenge there is the Appropriations Act doesn't typically get passed until June. So contracts have to go out no later than April 30th, but the budget isn't done until June. So what has to be in that contract now, or the contract offer, is at least a reasonable estimate of what the compensation level will be for the following year. There are also some requirements around teacher professional development, staff workdays, some updates to breach of contract requirements, district reporting. The penalty for breach of contract is still a suspension. It's been shifted to 6 months, and it is retroactive to the date of the breach. All of that gets really complicated on how our Office of General Counsel will kind of craft out these provisions. But again, that is the change in the law. I think it's going to be very interesting to see if we get the same number of breach contract reports once this goes into effect July 1 as we have over the last couple of years. The change around continuing contract teachers. So these are your teachers with a professional certificate who have to go through the renewal process. And so the provision about making these certificates permanent has been removed. What is focused on here is that districts have to use the professional development that teachers complete as part of their professional growth and development plan as sufficient for renewal purposes. Much of that language is already in place. It's a little more emphatic with the change here, and we'll be doing some work with districts over the coming year. There's also a change to the retired educator certificate. So previously, this certificate has been in place for the purpose of substituting, and an educator who is retired can apply for the certificate, use it for substituting, but not for serving in a certified role. The change in the law will allow an educator to use the retired educator certificate to return to full-time or part-time employment for which a certificate is required. So we'll make some updates there. It is a lifetime certificate in the sense that there are no renewal requirements, but what we were able to ask for and was included in the law is that an educator simply has to submit a request every 5 years if they want to extend the certificate for another 5. Again, individual has to be officially retired, has to apply for this certificate type, and we will be updating some state board guidelines. This is probably the next big provision that we'll get in place because it's sort of an easier lift for us since we have something already in place. The work experience credit for educators, Act 29 of this session will allow educators to receive educator experience credit for compensation purposes for non-teaching work experience related to their certification. So if you have an individual, let's say, that was worked in a lab setting, went on to do either through a traditional program or an alt-route program, became certified in chemistry, they will now be able to get some educator experience credit for that work experience in that field. It is a 2-to-1 ratio. So 2 years of work experience can be used as 1 year of educator experience credit. We have 180 days to get the guidelines and all the provisions for this in place because we've got to do some definitions, craft some definitions about what is eligible experience, what kind of documentation will be required, all those kind of particulars that are now tasked to us. So this is a benefit. It's a benefit for a number of our career changers, especially. But again, a major provision of this legislative session. The last piece of legislation to mention is the non-certified teacher pilot. This will not go into effect until we get the approval from the FBI and SLED so that we can receive those fingerprint-based background reports. So that process to get that approval has started. Basically, our agency will establish guidelines that go for state board approval. There are some pretty tight guardrails around this pilot program. So an eligible non-certified teacher would have to have a related educator or academic experience, would have to have relevant work experience to be defined. A school that opts into the pilot program can hire up to 10% of their total teaching staff as a non-certified teacher. These individuals in this pilot would have to get enrolled in a program, traditional or alt-route, within 3 years. So again, there's some guardrails here. It is a 5-year pilot, and there's a fair amount of work to be done to get this up and running. So those are the big pieces of legislation that came out of the session. So that's what we're doing on our summer vacation around here. So any questions about those provisions or anything I've shared? Catherine?
Perhaps only tangentially related, but will there be any changes to guidance for EPPs when it comes to when someone tries to get credit for a course that's over 7 years old? Do we expect 7 years to continue to stay the plan, or they have to check with us versus just getting it approved by the Department of Ed.
So that
Students getting-
revalidation?
Yes, thank you. I could not think of the
So,
word.
yeah. I mean, so revalidation, we don't revalidate courses. We leave that to the institution.
Okay.
You're the one, you're the one that can determine whether the content of that course as it was completed is still relevant. Some fields, there's not a great deal of change in that content. Others, that is not the case. And so we really defer to you on making that decision around revalidation of a course and what you might require for an individual to revalidate a course. In terms of revalidation for degree purposes, oftentimes that individual is asked to complete, whether it's, I had to retake an exam, for instance, to revalidate a course a number of years ago. So really, that's under your purview.
Mary, we have another question in chat.
Yes.
Similar to the leadership field, will those already employed as school counselors be able to get the certification permit to move to the other grade band if needed or desired?
Yes, likely. And we've got some work to do there. So it was pretty clear to us the pathway in terms of administrators, adding the complementary span. We were less sure about some of these older counseling programs that were either elementary focused or secondary focused. Again, the programs you're offering now really address the full span. So permit is still in place, is already in place for individuals. I think we'd have to work on some of the details about how to add that complementary span. So good question. All right. Jackie, I'm going to turn it over to you and Jessica.
All right. Thanks so much, Mary. We appreciate you being here and giving all those updates. That's a lot. So as Mary said, Jessica and I are going to be working on getting some guidance out to y'all to give us assurances, to tell us that, you've been able to implement that into your program so that you get both those grade spans in the leadership and school counseling fields. So please consider how you'll be integrating that into your school counselor and leadership programs. As Mary said, please remember this has to be implemented in 2026. But once we get that guidance out to you and have the assurance form to you, once we get that back, we will go ahead and start with that. So we can kind of hit the ground running with that, and we hope to get that out to you soon. We also plan to meet with EPPs that have leadership programs. We really want to kind of talk to our leadership programs in the state to ensure that candidates are really prepared to meet the needs of the school districts and kind of just have a touch base and open that conversation to make sure that that we're doing what we can to support y'all in that effort. Jessica?
Thanks, friend. So that meeting we're hoping to have will occur in the fall. So we'll reach out to you then. We don't want to bother y'all over summer vacation. So I have 3 quick announcements for you. I've right now dropped the internship certificate checklist in the chat for you. Just as a friendly reminder, we've already received a good many internship certificates for the fall. If you are looking to do that for one of your candidates, a reminder that that deadline is July 15. So please feel free to open up that link. It'll direct you to a form stack, so that way you have that, and that's where you're submitting your materials. And if you have questions about that, just reach out to us. Other 2 announcements. Number 1, thank you so much for submitting your Read to Succeed workbooks by the May 1 deadline for early childhood, elementary, and special ed programs. Do not worry, Jackie and I are hard at work reviewing those along with other agency officials. And we understand that you need those workbooks back in order to roll your courses out come August. And so everyone is very diligently working on those. We are moving through those on a rolling basis. As we have questions, we're reaching out to EPPs. So please make sure you're checking your email, or whoever submitted those workbooks is checking their email. Because as we encounter questions, we're reaching out to our EPPs because we understand we need to get this feedback to you ASAP. And then last but not least, just a friendly reminder, those middle and secondary workbooks for Read to Succeed alignment are due August 1. So that's all we have for you, friends. What kind of questions do you have for us?
Jessica, I dropped links in the chat. So if any of you want to access those pieces of legislation, I also have a document version of the regulation that we can send out. That might be easier for you to kind of tackle it that way. But that information is there. Just a couple of announcements here at the agency. Many of you may have seen our Deputy Superintendent, Matthew Ferguson, is leaving the agency June 30th. He will be the new superintendent for Darlington County Schools. So our loss is certainly the gain for those kids in Darlington. And he is probably singularly focused on improving teaching and learning for kids. So we'll be in some transition here. Our executive directors, Lila Tolman-Sager and Abby Duggins, are still on staff. But anyway, we may have some changes here in the upcoming months. So just want to give you that heads up. And if you know Matthew, please send your good wishes to him as he takes on that new role in his hometown schools. So that's one change here.
I just want to confirm that we can, if we wish, go ahead and start working on converting our internships that
Oh,
were
yeah.
specialized into
Absolutely.
and get that started by
Yep.
fall, that's
Yep.
a possibility.
You
Okay,
can, yep,
thank you.
absolutely.
I think that's all that we have. Jackie and I and Mary, if she can, will hang on and
Yep.
we'll answer any questions that you have, but we're going to go ahead and stop the recording. We wish you guys a fantastic summer. If you get to have a summer break, I'm not sure what the responsibilities are, but feel free to holler. Jackie and I and Mary will be here all summer. So
Come
feel
see us.
free.
Come
Come
see
see
us.
us. Absolutely.